after 70% of its female users said that they were becoming burned out. While it is not ditching the requirement for women to make the first move, its female users can now send a template question, such as, what book or film changed the way you think, using the site's opening moves feature. What do you think about this?
So I'm supportive of it, but I don't find it surprising. This really maps to the dynamics, male-female approach dynamics that we see in person.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to react to a clip that talks about Bumble's latest update that sort of puts the ball back in the man's court when it comes to making the first move. Even though being able to send guys the first message is what women claimed to want just a decade ago, they learned that the reality of having to be the one to make the approach isn't as appealing as they originally thought. Anyway, without wasting any time, let's get into the mess.
So I've been reading a book called Men Don't Love Like Women, and oh my god, let me sum up a few things I learned. So if you go on a date and you lead with your ambition, with your achievements, with your career success, I'm an independent woman, or I'm a domestic goddess, or look at my beauty, then you're setting yourself up for failure, because there are plenty of successful independent women. Most women are successful, they're independent, they're on their grind, they're ambitious. And even if you aren't a multimillionaire or a business owner or entrepreneur, whatever you're doing, it won't stop men from going for you. So it doesn't matter what you're doing.
You see, it doesn't matter how successful a woman is. Generally speaking, she's going to want a partner who makes as much or more than she does. Back in 2017, the Pew Research Center found that 71% of women thought that for a man to be a good partner or husband, he should be able to fully support a family financially. Since men expect to take on the majority of expenses, it's not all that important to us as to what a woman does for a living. It's also been this way throughout the entirety of our evolutionary history, which is why men and women have the preferences they do today.
You could be working part-time in a cafe whilst trying to be an actress, you know? A man would still be okay with that. The reason why that is because men are rated on their success, on their achievements. Women aren't rated on the same thing. Now, domestic goddess. If that was the case, as you know, your mom and your grandma like to tell you, is like my mom and my grandma, oh my god, he's gonna want to marry you if you don't know how to cook and make this and do that. It's because that's what they were taught. But it's not the case at all, because then every woman who can cook and clean would get a man. Besides, it is not about what you can do for a man, it's what a man can do for you. Think about it, the men that are obsessed with a woman, the one, you know, they worship the ground she walks on. You think they want to see her in the kitchen slaving away or cleaning? No, they want her to be just living it up in her goddess energy, like a queen, being treated like absolute royalty every single day. So you were lied to.
She lost me there. If I'm the one who's paying for everything, there's no way I'm going to be dealing with some freeloader. When you're building a life with someone, you both have your roles to play. It can't just be one person doing everything while the other sits on their ass. Like I always say, in general, men don't mind being providers, but no one wants to feel like they're being taken advantage of unless you're a sucker.
Third, looks. If the only thing that you feel like you have to offer are your looks, then you will be sorely disappointed. Because I don't know if you've looked around lately, but there are many, endlessly billions of attractive women. There will be some that are less attractive than you. That's what he said in the book. The same level of attractiveness and infinitely more attractive than you. So you just can't win by just being pretty. What makes you stand out is authenticity. It's a great personality. It's other things that you have to offer.
She's right in that there will always be a more attractive person, so it takes more than good looks to keep a relationship going. Which is funny, because in her last point, she talked about living in her goddess energy and not adding anything to the relationship. As long as she's getting her needs met, that's the only thing that matters.
No, if I was a man for a day, on a serious note, not to make it political, but I would do things like go for a jog in the dark.
Oh, get out.
I'm being serious.
All right.
But I'm being serious. Those are things that you underestimate as a man. You do underestimate that.
I don't go for jogs in the dark.
Do you ever walk along a road at any time and look and think,
Yes.
there's only 2 other men on this road.
No, I don't.
Right.
Since these 2 are from the UK, I checked out the stats on who's more likely to be attacked, and it turns out that 2.2% of men compared to 1.4% of women reported and were on the receiving end of a violent crime between 2020 and 2021. To add to that, when it came to homicides, 70% of the victims were men and 30% were women. It would be silly to walk around at night thinking that nothing will happen to you because you're a guy. And while it's not something I do much of anymore, when I did, I always had my guard turned up to 100 just in case anybody tried some shit.
What do you mean?
That's what a woman does all the time.
I still walk with caution and think anything can happen.
Yeah, but like, I don't think you're under the same threat as what a woman is. But I'm not getting political. Just saying that those are the things. I would go out there and experience life as a man.
So what do you think that feels like?
I do think it would feel different.
So like, you're a man for a day. You're going to wait till it gets dark and go for a jog just to see
Am I a
how
white
you feel?
man? Because that changes everything.
If I was a white guy walking through my old neighborhood at night, I'd be even more cautious because I'd be even more of a target. While I get that women have this inherent fear of men, sometimes I think they overestimate how easy it is to be a guy. Men and women have to face and deal with different issues. Sometimes women have it harder, and sometimes men do. But I'd love it if the technology existed that allowed us to body swap for a day, because I genuinely believe that a lot of people will have their perceptions changed about certain things, myself included.
A lot of effort to get one date. Bumble app makes women's first move easier. In the end, it was the data that killed me, says Penny about her decision to leave the dating app Bumble. If she opened the app, she might receive 100 likes, 25% of which she might be interested in. She would look at their profiles and write an individualized message. A few would respond, perhaps one would result in a date. That's a lot of effort to get one date, she says. It's exhausting. Bumble, billed as the feminist Tinder when it launched in 2014, this week announced it was taking action to relieve the administrative burden on its female users. It has given them the option of firing off a short pre-written question to potential dates rather than a carefully crafted missive.
I thought it was hilarious because this is something that men have had to do for the longest time. Even though this topic is completely unrelated to the clip we just watched, it kind of proves my point that if men were to live as women for a day and women as men, people would start to see things differently. While approaching women comes naturally to some men, the rest of us had to learn the hard way. And even then, some guys never get the hang of it. If the women who got sick of how tedious and time-consuming it was to message a man first and not get the result they wanted, they'd call it quits on day one if they had to try this shit in real life.
After 70% of its female users said that they were becoming burned out. While it is not ditching the requirement for women to make the first move, its female users can now send a template question such as, what book or film changed the way you think, using the site's opening moves feature. What do you think about this?
So I'm supportive of it, but I don't find it surprising. This really maps to the dynamics, male-female approach dynamics that we see in person, which is that the responsibility is on the man to approach and start the conversation with a woman. It's not generally the woman who is the one needing to approach or start the conversation. But what I would say is this woman who says she was writing carefully crafted messages is in the minority. As someone who has looked at thousands of Bumble conversations, women generally send zero effort, one-word responses like, hi, and then the onus would still fall on the man to then come up with a creative or interesting conversation and steer that towards a date.
And this is something I experienced many times on dating apps back in the day. And at the time, it would kind of annoy me because some of those same girls who'd come to you with a hi would have it written on their profile that a guy should send a creative and unique first message if they hope to stand a chance. Very quickly though, you realize that the first message you send means nothing if the girl in question doesn't find you attractive. But that's a different topic.
So I feel like previously, okay, women were starting the conversation, but in name only.
I think there's a good bit of pushback from guys about this, and I can understand why, that basically they now feel like, hang on, women, you said that you wanted an app that allowed you to make the first move, which is what we've had to do for all of human history, and then being given that preference, privilege, request, whatever it is that you wanted, you're now saying that, oh, it's too arduous, even though you can copy and paste a message, you can use keyboard shortcuts on iPhone to make it easier to do, and it's now been made even more easy so that there's pre-written template questions that you can just press a button to send to me, which means it is first move in name only.
Yeah.
And I think it probably feels, many guys that are dating will feel indignant, where it's like, this is what it's like for me all the time.
Yeah.
Not
The pre-written template message is a joke and a waste of time. I think the creators of Bumble should just accept that starting a conversation isn't something that women want to do. I am curious though, how do the guys on Bumble feel about responding to a template question? While it's low effort, I still think I'd prefer a simple hi or hello over something that was copied and pasted, because I'd feel like I was replying to some sort of chatbot.
just on this one app.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's just the reality of dating. The man is expected to be the pursuer. And you can either, not to say you were complaining about that, but complain about that, or you can learn how to approach and appropriately attract women. And you can trace that back to evolutionary biology. The man is, across most species, the male is the pursuer. Sperm are much more abundant than eggs. Eggs are the scarcer resource. Women become the chooser up front.
And the only way guys stand a chance of learning this is by putting themselves out there. While the whole pickup artist thing received a lot of backlash over the years, it wouldn't hurt if there were legit courses or programs that taught men how to get over the fear of rejection. I mean, teaching men how to open and maintain a conversation with a stranger could go a long way. And not only will it help them with dating, it'd also help them in other areas of their lives. I don't know, maybe there's something out there like this already, but it was just a thought I had while watching this video.
Guys being the protagonists and women being the gatekeepers or the receivers in whatever way. Anybody that is like, people realize this. What are you hearing, or what is it that women say about their desire to initiate versus their desire to be pursued? What have you learned there?
So women want to be approached more and pursued more, at least for what I see in my personal experience, in my relationships with women and what I hear. And then I also conducted some informal survey data of 13,000 women in the US and the UK. 97% said they would rather meet their partner in person than online. And 95% said they wish they were approached more often by men in real life.
This is why I'm a big advocate for guys getting off dating apps and interacting with women in person. And I know, it's easier said than done, but if you're a guy who's interested in dating, it's your best shot. And hey, if you want to use dating apps alongside approaching women in the real world, there's no harm in that, I suppose.
95% of anything is crazy. I'm not sure 95% of people would agree the sky is blue if you asked them. And women are saying in hordes, basically, like, hey, I want to meet a guy offline and like, I want guys to approach me. And, I hear guys saying, well, women are rude when I approach them, or it doesn't work out. And the reality is it's a numbers game. Like, there are some women who don't want to be approached, and there are even more women who already have a partner or aren't interested in men or don't like you for whatever reason that you can't control. But that is out of your control. If you learn to approach appropriately, you're not going to be pepper sprayed or arrested or have some terrible thing happen if you talk to a woman in real life.
Yeah, your sample was 13,000 single women
Yes.
in the US and the UK. I'm not sure what the age cohort was, but let's say that 50% of women are in a relationship, 50% are single. That actually turns 95% into 47.5%.
Yeah.
So for the guys that say, I've tried to approach women, what's the likelihood that each time I do it, it's one of the 5%? It's like, yeah, but you don't know, unless they've got a green badge that says, yes, I'm single.
Yeah.
You're not actually pre-selecting.
Exactly. So you just have to approach more often. And I get it. It's hard. It can be anxiety inducing. You're oftentimes facing rejection. And that is just what has been happening for all of human history. And I think we have become complicit with expecting things to be delivered to us. You can press a button on your phone and have any meal you want delivered to your door. All of your groceries come to your door. Anything you want to watch, you can press a button and watch that at that time. And I'm not anti-technology, but technology has made people lazy and expect to always get what they want when they want it. And dating and mating is not that way.
She talked about guys learning how to approach women appropriately. But as I mentioned earlier, where do guys go to learn this? This goes beyond the whole catcalling thing or straight up being rude and disrespectful. It's about men learning how to hold a conversation and building up the confidence to do such things. While there are plenty of those alpha male types online who claim to be able to teach men how to talk to women, if I'm being honest, most of what I've seen is trash, costs more than your average college tuition, and won't teach you jack shit. Anyway, guys, that's about it for today. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps me out. And if you want to share your own thoughts, hit up the comments section and I'll see you down there.